Hey guys, how's it going? Mario Delgadillo here out of Dallas, Texas. It is our weekly Friday advanced markets training, and today we're going to talk about closing, which for a lot of people I know is like a dirty word, right? Especially, and I don't mean to sound sexist, but a lot of times ladies don't like to have that closing type of mantra. They don't like to come on and do I'm a closer where they tend to feel like more of a nurturer, more of a counselor, right? Somebody that can really educate someone to get them to move forward in that right direction. But I want to tell you guys, especially again, a couple of you ladies on right now, closing is everything you do. Everywhere you go and in everything you do, you are closing, right? Don't believe me? Like, have you ever thought about like, hey, we're going to go to see a movie this Friday? What do you want to see? And now I know most ladies, their generic answers, I don't care, right? Drives me nuts. Steph, I'm like, hey, babe, what do you want to go eat on Friday? I don't care. And then I put out a recommendation. Now, well, you do care then, right? Everybody cares, right? But the idea and the premise is there's even in just your relationship with your significant other or even your relationship with your children, there's always a my want and a your want, and somebody closes the other person on what they want, right? So we're always closing, but especially in this industry, you guys have to know that closing is an all the time thing, and it starts from the very beginning. Okay, from the very, very beginning of your process. So there's a reason why, okay, we have scripts. There's a reason why we have PowerPoints. There's a reason why that you model and observe and watch what myself and Maritza do at the very beginning so that it's duplicatable, right? So I wanted to spend some time with you and just more than anything, introduce a couple of concepts to you, but it'll be more of like a locker room talk today where we just have a conversation about closing. So the first thing that I will tell you guys is there's so many different points in the interaction with your client where you can start to do what's called a pre-close. Okay. So pre-close is setting expectations, okay, for what we're going to do, not just setting the expectations, but also letting them know the way that the sequence works. So when you're on a phone call with people, right? And if you're following the script, which is our same IBC script is built and developed the same way as the room script, okay? It's well, let me tell you, if I may, a little bit about my process. Okay. First thing we're going to do today is we're going to just go through some information, and the whole goal is for me to gather some generic information for you so that I know exactly how to direct you and so I know exactly how to help you. So once I gather this generic information, what I then do is I go out into the open market and I'm going to find a couple of different scenarios and strategies that I think will meet your needs. After this phone call, usually in about 48 hours, we're going to sit down for a Zoom session. And during that Zoom, I'm going to do two things. Okay, number one is I'm going to educate you on some philosophies regarding retirement or infinite banking. And I'm also going to present to you some illustrations that you can take to the bank. Okay. Now, after that, typically we'll set up some time afterwards to go over any questions or even decide if this is the right fit for you. Fair enough? So, from the very beginning of that first phone call, I'm letting them know that there's a three-step process. Okay. Guys, hear me on this. You could have all of the knowledge base in the world, but if you don't set up a clear process for your client, you're never going to be able to close and you're never going to be able to be successful. Or you'll close, but your closing rate won't be nearly as amazing as it should be. So setting up expectations also starts to develop trust with your client because they know that you're not, especially in what we do, guys, you don't think that when somebody requests information for annuities or when somebody requests information for IBC that we're the only person they requested information from, right? Okay. I know for a fact that my clients are requesting information from other agents. So when you are creating an expectation and you're clearly laying out the process, what you're also doing is you're separating yourself, right? Oh man, this guy knows what he's doing, right? I don't know how many times I've talked to a client who has talked to other agents. And when I'm done with them, they're like, oh, dude, what you do and the way you break it down is so much more next level and professional that, I mean, your process speaks for itself, right? So I'm trying to set the tone that I'm the expert, right? I'm the expert. And why is that important, guys? Because down the road, I'm going to make a recommendation for them. And I expect them to follow my recommendation, right? Because I've set that tone from the beginning that I'm the expert. I'm the one that knows best for you. Let me ask you a question. And you guys can just chat it in. When you go to the doctor, let's say there's, you have some type of ailment. Do you trust the doctor when they give you their recommendations? Like, do you like pretty much say, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about, right? Don't I know Sharina's like, I hate doctors. I hate Western medicine. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you go to the doctors and you say, hey, I broke my arm, right? And they go, cool, let me take a look at it, right? And then they go and they're going to give you it's not a debatable thing, right? Like, I'm not going to go and tell a heart surgeon how to, you know, operate on my heart because I watched some YouTube videos, right? They have ultimate posture. They have ultimate trust from me because I'm giving them that. And guys, this is all part of the pre-close. So when you get on a call with a client, if you're not telling them, hey, listen, let me tell you a little bit about how I help my clients. Right? If you're not telling them, hey, listen, let me tell you exactly what my process looks like. Right? You're doing yourself a disservice on the back end because you're missing an opportunity to develop that trust and to develop that expertise. Because when I get to the end, I think you guys have heard me say this before. I focus on annuities. Okay, that's what I do. Once I crack this nut on the illustration side, I fully intend on becoming an IBC expert as well. But my entire presentation, it's just like as if I was like an attorney. When we have like closing remarks at the end of a trial, like that's it. That's what you're paid for, right? I've got to sway an entire, what do they call the jury to see what I want, right? And it's like kind of like when I get to the end, that's all I got, and they go away to give me an answer. It's very similar to what we do. So you can't just go through the process shooting from the hip, kind of willy nilly, and then shoot them an illustration and be like, well, I'll follow up with you in a couple of days. Hopefully, no, that's not how it works. You have to do everything in your power, okay, to get them to get to a place. My goal in the pre-close is to start laying a foundation. But my goal, once it's all said and done, guys, is to get them when it's done. I could almost like just look at them and be like, you need to do this, right? Like the only obvious choice is to not be stupid and do what I'm asking you to do, right? But that takes a very strategic path throughout this process. Okay. So now let me tell you what I've been doing lately. Okay. When I get started in the presentation, I always call it, hey, before we get started, I want to set the table. All right, let's set the table before dinner, right? So I always say, I want to set the table. A couple of things that I want to make sure that we're really clear on. The purpose of today is about education. Today is not about decision making. Okay. Now let's have time out there. Let's hear from you guys. What do you think the reason for me saying that is? Why would I say that to somebody at the very beginning?
Because some clients think that they want you to like close them immediately. Like, oh, I have to give this money right away. Like I won't have time, because some agents do are like pressure them.
Yeah. One call close, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want them to know that I'm not even going to entertain a buying conversation right now, but what does that do for them? Anybody?
Takes the pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
Lowers
What
their
else?
walls.
Boom. Why?
Because now they're like, okay, right now we're just having a discussion. It's not so much, building rapport as well. I don't know. I just know it's lowers their walls.
Think about this, guys. And I'm a little bit of a shopper. I like to buy stuff. Have you ever okay, hey, I'm going to the mall with the purpose of buying this exact thing. Like you're not going there. Like maybe you're going to a concert and so you're like, I need some new boots, right? I'm going to the mall or the store, whatever it is, with the purpose of buying boots. And now I'm standing there in front of a wall of boots and they come up and they're like, hey, um, I'm not dipping. Someone said I was dipping. Um, so you're standing in front of a wall, right? And you're there to buy boots. And the sales associate comes over and says, hi, ma'am. Is there anything I can do to help you? Or do you have any questions? What do you say? No, I'm fine, thank you. Even though you're there to buy, because your wall is up. I don't need anybody to close me. Thank you. I've done it. I was going, no, I'm good. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll come to you when I have a question. And I usually do. Like literally like 3 minutes later, I'm like, hey, so do these come in brown or how about, it's just the nature of man. It's the nature of people. And so the idea is that we know going into the actual conversation, number one, you already have one strike against you. Guys, they met you on the internet, right? Like that's one strike against you. They're going to be leery from jump because we're like, okay, who is this guy? Who is this gal? Where's she from? Is she like a scammer? That's already against you. Okay, if you're buying leads. Okay. Number two, people just already have a buyer beware mentality. So from the very beginning, I want to tell them, hey, listen, actually the verbiage I use is I say, hey, Marita, I'm going to say something that I know you probably already know, but I want to be intentional when I say it. Today's not about decisions. Okay. We're just here to get some education and we'll talk about, whether or not you think this is a good fit for you on another day. Does that make sense? Cool. So now Marita can feel confident to just let the wall drop and receive what I have to say, right? Because if I don't say that, everything that she says to me comes through like this guy, he's got an ulterior motive, right? Like I've got an ulterior motive, so he just wants something from me, right? So that's why it's so important. So I set the table and I say, listen, number one, today is not about any type of decision making. Okay. Number two, second thing that I want to do when I set the table is I want to tell them, hey, today my objective is to simplify this process. And sometimes I say, Priscilla, there's a lot of noise online regarding infinite banking, right? There's a lot of noise online about like secure and guaranteed retirement, right? Yeah, there is. It's just like everywhere. Perfect. Let me simplify this for you. Okay. I just want this to be so simple. And the third thing is this. In doing that, my goal is to give you all the power. And here's one of the other things. This is a closing statement if I've ever heard one. So what you're probably used to, well, mind you, I already know their portfolio because we had a financial needs assessment. Now we're on the Zoom, right? So I already know that Maritza has $1.7 million under management at Charles Schwab, right? So I know she has a financial advisor, right? So I say, listen, the reason I want to simplify this and give you the power, what I mean by that is a lot of people think like, oh man, this money management and growing my money is so sophisticated. And oh man, it's a good thing I have Sharina to take 1% of my money every year and manage it for me, right? I tell them it's not rocket science, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm taking a portion of their portfolio and I'm just putting it in a vehicle to get them a guaranteed income. That's it. You can keep a portion with the folks over at Schwab and let them do their thing. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. Okay. So the final thing I say when we're setting the table is this, and I talked about it this morning. At the end of my presentation, if you say one of two things or both, I know I did my job. Number one is this. This sounds too good to be true. When you say that, I go like this. Yeah, because I did my job. Or number two, when you say, damn it, how come I didn't meet you 10 years ago? I did my job, right? Usually I get a smile again, and that's also another way to build rapport. but I'm also going into when they think that at the end, man, this sounds too good to be true. They're not thinking of it like it's a bad thing. They're actually laughing to themselves, being like, damn, this is what he said. Like he must know his stuff. Right. So we set the table. Okay. Then we go into the presentation itself. And I've added certain things. And I know, guys, sometimes there's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to like presenting and closing and all that. Everything that I do in my presentation is created to be duplicatable. Okay. Why? How many of you know what is the most important thing for me in my life? My family, right? Okay. So in order for me to spend as much time with my family, right, I need to win back my time. The only way to win back my time is to teach you guys. I don't care how good I am. That means nothing. The only thing that's going to win back my time or win back your time as you start building and developing a team is duplicating a system. So everything we do through this process is very, very, very intentional. Okay. So as we're going through the presentation, I thought I'd do this. Now, we do have an IBC presentation. Maybe next week I'll go through the IBC side of it. But let me see if I have the newest version of the PowerPoint here. Let's see. I should have this up and running. While I do that, what do you guys think about the concept of setting the table? Is that resonating with you guys? Talk to me about it. Jump in, chime in here. Audience participation time.
I like it because, for an example, with the client yesterday, they were kind of weary, and I guess that is something that I need to work on, is setting the table. Like, I know I say it, but then I need to like reiterate it. Where like when they're like skeptical, I'm like, right now all we're focusing on is just providing information. So I really do like setting the expectations. It's really good.
Right. Good. And remember, always connect it back to them. What's the acronym that we talk about a lot? Oh, WIFM. What's in it for me?
Yes.
Everything you do, everything you say is going to be looked at through the lenses of WIFM. What's in it for me? That's all they care about. So when you set up the expectations, right? When you set the table, connect it back to why it matters to you. Why it matters to you. I'm closing a deal right now from a client that I've been working for since like January. True story. Okay. And I won the deal because I told him, listen, Fred, I don't want you to feel in any way like this is about me. And I'm willing to like let you walk away because I know what's best for you. But if you don't, then it's not worth it for either one of us. So I gave him 48 hours to realize, and I said, I'm pulling for you. Literally, I was like, I'm pulling for you. I hope you understand and you see kind of the light, like what I've been trying to show you. But if you don't, and you're just kind of like begrudgingly going through it, I don't need the business. It's more important that you get it and understand it so that you can be successful and safe in your plans. So the other thing that I would say, guys, is speak in absolutes. Have you guys ever heard that before? Speak in absolutes. Has anybody? Maybe if you have, kind of just shout out or type in, what does speak in absolutes mean? I'm asking questions so I can give a pop or two. All right, speak in absolutes, guys. Whatever you say, you want it to be like final, right? So like, give you an example. When I talk to somebody and I say that Texas is the best state in the union, I know it's a fact, but speak in fact, right? It's the way I come across. right? When I speak to somebody and I say Jesus is the only way, I know that's a fact. There's no ifs, ands, buts, maybes about it, right? So I speak in absolutes, and my demeanor, the verbiage that I use is always, it's an absolute. When I say to somebody that this is the right move for you, it's not like, well, I don't leave any room for doubt, right? So this is the best route for you in your situation based on what your objectives are. And that's my professional opinion, right? But as a closer, you've got to speak that way all the time, right? I recently had some parents on my 8-year-old baseball team, my son's team, tell me that, that you're the favorite, all the boys' favorite coach, right? And I was like, really? Like, I was like, why? Why do you say that? And they said, because all the boys say that whenever you talk to them, they feel like they can win the championship and that they are going to win it. Like because I know how good they are. So I don't leave room for doubt. I tell them, you're the best team in this division, right? You have to walk accordingly. You don't see it, but I see it, right? And so speaking in absolutes throughout the entire presentation is so important, guys. And then the last thing is this, before we get into the actual next steps, ask for their input throughout the process. Get them to sell you, okay? So one of the ways that I do that is, so, on the presentation, the financial seminar, there's a point where it says, thank you. Like, that's it. And I literally say, Amber, that's all I got. Okay. So before we move forward and I actually show you the information, and this is my verbiage, just so that I know I'm barking up the right tree. What are a couple of things that stuck out most to you? What do you like most about what we've covered so far? And then I just be quiet. Okay. Why am I doing that? Come on, y'all, it's a Friday.
Make sure that they understand, first of all, make sure they understand what you were talking about.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that they're not lost, first of all. So yes. What else? What other reason would I ask that for?
So to get their input and therefore you can address any objections in the future?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I can, because if I say to somebody, what do you like most about what we've covered so far? And they give me an objection, then I already know I've got a fight on my hands because they didn't even answer my question. Right. Imagine if I was like, hey, do you like this shirt, babe? And she's like, well, you look fat. I was like, what the heck? Like, you didn't even ask if you like the shirt. You just went with a whole nother deal, right? It's not the right response for that question. So if I ask somebody, hey, just so that I know I'm barking up the right tree, what's the thing that stuck out most to you? Or what do you like most about what we've covered so far? And they respond back with a totally different thing that they don't like. I already know I got to fight on my hands. 9 out of 10 times, somebody will respond and they'll say, oh, well, I really like the fact that you can't lose like that. Like bottom side protection is really awesome, right? Number one, I'm trying to get them to sell me on the product. I'm trying to get them to sell me back. So what are the couple things that stuck out most to you? What do you like most about what we've covered so far today? That bonus. That's pretty crazy. Like, I'm not getting a bonus now, right? I sometimes ask like, hey, how is the 220% bonus that F&G's offering stack up against your 0% bonus you've been getting for the last 40 years? And typically they go, right? Like, now they're selling you back. Okay. The second thing is this, and this pertains to what we're talking about today. If they're talking about, man, I really love that there's no fees. I love that there's a 0%, on the bottom and the bonus. Now I'm putting that in my pocket here, because when I go for a close or when I start talking about decision, those are the 3 things that I key on to help them to make their decisions. So I'm letting them sell me, but like, okay, if somebody doesn't care that there's a bonus, because that's not the thing that really stuck to them, but they just keep talking about the bottom side protection, then when I go to close, am I going to talk about the bonus? No, they don't care about that, right? What I'm going to talk about is that bottom side protection. So it's again another opportunity for me to be closing throughout because now I'm equipping myself. You're equipping yourself with the ability and the tools to know how to go in for that kill. Okay. So now we're done. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I think I speak for even Maritza here when I say this. When you're done with the financial seminar and you've provided them with an illustration, okay, what is the next step? Sharina, you're on mute. It's okay if the kids are back there. I don't care.
No, it's just one. Praise Jesus. I was just gonna say, I don't know if this is correct, but I was gonna say scheduling the next appointment because you said you provided them an illustration, right?
It is, guys, yes, guys, it is an absolute bona fide sin. If you get to this point and you don't schedule another phone call or Zoom with that person within 48 to 72 hours. If there's like okay, well, I'll follow up with you in a couple of days, kiss it goodbye. You're done. You're done. Okay. So if you are not setting up an additional, and we call it an application review. So when you want to start to, we're all getting on the same page as far as terminology is concerned. First appointment is a phone appointment, financial F&A, right? The financial needs assessment. The second appointment is a Zoom, okay? And that's the financial seminar. The third appointment is called the app review, okay? Now, that's not necessarily a terminology that we share with them, but internally, we schedule an app review. So when I say, hey, Amber, I know you had that client on Monday. Did you guys go through the financial seminar? Yeah. When's the app review? Oh, it's on Wednesday. Perfect. Right? But how you set it up is very important. Have you ever got through a presentation with somebody and your internal discernment is already telling you that they're leaning towards doing it? But then you also have that internal discernment sometimes and you feel like they're leaning not towards doing it. Have you ever felt that before? Yeah. Okay. So there's a way to set up the application review if they're leaning this way or if they're leaning this way. So if they're leaning towards doing it, here's how I do it. So today's Friday. So Amber, listen, I'm going to send you an email. Okay. By the way, we need to talk about the email. Email is extremely important. Okay. So I'm going to send you an email. Okay. And the email itself, let me see if I have one open so I can show you guys. Again, everything is exactly the same, guys. I'm hoping there's one here. It's crazy because sometimes I do, here we go. I do work on my home computer and then I go do work on my laptop and they're both Macs, but sometimes the information doesn't share over. Okay, can you guys see my email here? Okay, so the email always says F&G illustrations and illustrations, information and instructions, illustrations is what it should say. Then it says, this is just a copy and paste job, okay? The body of the email, okay, says, hey, Charles, per conversation today, attached you'll find the illustration brochures that I'm recommending for you for your retirement plan. Your funds will be placed into the fixed index annuity specifically to grow your money responsibly without risk loss due to market downturn. Remember, this is accomplished because you'll be using the indexing crediting strategy. When I put in parentheses, when the market goes up, you earn. When the market goes down, you retain your value. Then here's where those little closing touches. Important to note, at the bottom of this email, I provided my license number with the state of Texas and a link to the Department of Insurance in the state of Texas to verify my information, if you like. I proactively provide this so that you can feel comfortable and confident in my ability to serve you. Additionally, if you like, I provided a list of clients that would be happy to chat with you about their experience with me. Feel free to reach out to them via phone call or text message and ask away. Please review the attached information and write down any questions that you might have. I look forward to our next appointment, and then I type this in individually every time. And then, look at this, setting the table. We will get your application completed so that you can gain approval. Okay. Then there's my references. And then here I've got the illustrations, and then I have an F&G I always say there's an F and G difference one, there's a power accumulator, right? So every single time it's the same, okay? So let me walk through and be intentional with you guys what I say at the end, okay? So if the client is leaning towards doing it, if my internal discernment is saying, I think they're going to do it, here's what I say. So Amber, I'm going to send you an email, okay, with all of the information that we covered today. But really quickly, let me break down the actual email you're going to receive. And I would say, hey, so Amber, have you ever seen like those books? It's like Excel for Dummies or like Basketball for Dummies. Have you ever seen those? Yeah. Okay. Well, in the body of the email, it's going to be like FIAs for Dummies. It's just a basic little generic breakdown of what we covered, because I know it's a lot of information. Okay. So that's the body of the email. Below that, you're going to find a list of about 5 or 6 clients that have worked with me in the past that said, hey, listen, I'm open. If anybody ever wants to ask me about my experience, hey, you might not need it, but it's there if you want it. Feel free to go ask away. At the bottom of the email, I have my license number and a link to the state of Texas Department of Insurance if you want to check on me there. Now attached, I'm going to attach a couple of things. Number one is going to be a PDF about F&G. Number two is a PDF about the product. And number three is the illustration that we covered. Now, Amber, you would agree that that's a lot of information, right? So first step is this. Today's Friday. Let's get you back on the books on Monday, just so we can touch base, because most of my clients, when they get this information, it triggers a couple more questions. So, and again, here's the part where I feel like Amber wants to move forward. Most of my clients have some questions, but listen, we'll go through your questions. You know, if you don't have any, we can even talk about what the next steps are. But basically, we would then do an application so that we can gain suitability approval. Basically, the insurance company wants to make sure that you're suitable for this particular product. So they have to evaluate your finances, like a stated financial analysis. So we could do that then. But again, we'll address that then. Did you see I already told them? I already told Amber what we were going to do, because I used my internal discernment to determine that she's probably leaning towards doing it. But did I also say, but either way, we'll address that when we get there? That still leaves it open like, hey, I'm not trying to do the hard close, but I've been dripping since the very beginning about doing this application. Okay, because guys, you have to understand, statistically, the more times you can get a client to commit to something, the more that they are indebted in this process, right? So if, let's say we met 3 times on Zoom, we had 2 phone calls, you know, that's a lot of effort and like time you've put into this process. Most people don't want to just throw their time away. So the more times you can get them back. When I was in sales and education with Priscilla, we used to say, get your student to hug the building as many times as possible. So when I enrolled a student into school, I would invite them back as many times. Hey, we're doing a new student orientation. Hey, one of the math professors was doing an intro to mathematics. And I just wanted them to come here. Hey, is there any way you come by? I have a gift for you that I want to give you. The more times they can get into the building, the more likelihood. And then when they got there, guess what I did? I'd introduce them to people. Hey, you know what, Amber, you got a second? Hold on. I want to introduce you to one of the freshman teachers. Miss Fusco, come on over here. This is Amber. She's one of our, because now the more people Amber meets, the more in like indebted and intertwined into her commitment. It's the same thing. Okay. So I want to get her involved. I want to get her to commit her time as many times as possible, because that increases the likelihood of her purchasing. Now, same thing. Hey, so let's say I have Amber leaning towards not doing this. Okay. She's still very kind of standoffish. I don't know. I don't even talk about the application. I say, so Amber, listen, remember at the beginning I said this was all about education? Yeah, we're still in that mode. Okay. So I'm going to send you an email. Body of the email is this, the attachments are that. Yeah, I go through that whole thing. And then I say, now, what I really like to do is get you on the books. Now, here's the deal. If somebody's kind of standoffish and you're not really feeling that they're like 100% involved yet or ready to go, I even try my best to pick a time that I know they'll say yes. So if Amber needed to meet at 5 o'clock on a Friday, I'm going to bank that 5 o'clock on Monday will work, because I know she's out of work. right? So I don't ask, hey, does 11 o'clock work for you or 12? I just go right. So let's just meet the same time on Monday, right? And all we're going to do is this. Amber, I want you to kind of, get your notepad out and chop up this illustration. Ask as many questions as possible. And on Monday, come back and put my feet to the fire. Okay. This is not about decision making. It's about just understanding exactly what you've got your hands on. Okay. So does Monday at 5 o'clock work for you? I'll put you down on the books here. Okay. Sure. We've got that appointment on Monday. But bottom line, guys, it is an absolute freaking sin. And you are doing yourself, your business, your family, your grandparents, everybody that ever known you, you're doing them a disgrace. If you leave the end open. Because here's the other thing you have to understand. People by nature are procrastinators. And people buy on emotion. So would you agree, guys, that this is at the financial seminar, they're probably closer to doing something like this than they've ever been in their life, right? They're at the closest they're ever going to be at that moment to closing the deal. Okay. They're probably most excited at that time as well. Guys, do people buy emotionally or do they buy intellectually?
Emotionally.
I think most people like to think they buy intellectually, but they don't. Everybody buys based on the way they feel. So if I get to a point with a client where I know they're feeling it, every day that goes by that I don't touch them again, that emotion level's dropping. They were excited. That emotion level's dropping. What's the other thing that can happen the longer it takes to get them back? The birds get them. Have you guys ever heard of that? So I'll close with this. There's a parable in the Bible, and it talks about the sower and the seed, right? And the seed in the Bible is the gospel, right? So the guy's just constantly, the idea is you just get the seed, the gospel, and just keep throwing it, right? You just keep throwing it out. And the premise is where it lands and what happens when it lands is it's not your doing. When you throw the seed, where that seed, the gospel, lands is really between that person and God. Can't do nothing about it. But your job is to constantly throw the seed, right? Same thing here in our business, right? You throw the seed, you throw out the information, okay? You just got to keep doing it. But what happens is in the parable, it says that, these people got really excited and they sprung up and then they died away. These seeds fell in the rocks. These seeds, the birds got them. Guys, if I had magical powers, I can tell you every single one of us have lost business because the birds got them. You guys know what the birds are? It's a Friday today. It's Labor Day weekend this weekend. And you might have a great call, a great financial seminar on Thursday or Friday of this week. And you schedule a call for next week, or you don't. I'm going to call you on Tuesday since it's the long weekend and we'll figure out when we're going to talk next week. You don't have anything booked, right? Then they go to a barbecue this weekend. They go to a cookout and they start talking to the birds, to their, cousin or their uncle. Well, one time years ago, my grandfather got a fixed index annuity and yeah, I'll tell you what happened to him, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you call him on Monday. Have you ever had this happen, guys? You call the client on Monday and he went from like bubbling with excitement to ice cold, like almost like agitated that you called back. In my mind, I'm like, the birds got him. The birds got him. So you have to understand that you have to create a certain amount of urgency because there's just so many things working against you, especially if you're doing things over Zoom or you're building a national, you're closing sales nationally. right? If you're in the area and we're meeting for coffee, it's different, right? We meet somebody, shake your hand face to face. There's a different type of connection, and there's a different type of loyalty to the actual type of product or to the deal. But if all we ever did was meet on Zoom, and we're, especially here in Texas, if you could be 9 hours away from somebody, it'd still be in Texas, right? So the idea is that I have to create urgency. Urgency. Here's another way that I do it. You really like the idea of taking your money out of the market, right? Yeah. You like the idea of giving that 0% bottom. Yes. You like the idea of earning some bonuses. Yes. Now, sir, I don't want to come off too presumptuous, and it's never my style to pressure anybody, but I do want to put a little bug in the back of your ear here. The longer you wait, the higher the likelihood of something going wrong. The market could crash, right? They could change the bonuses, right? Anything could happen. So again, just put that in the back of your ear. While there's no urgency, maybe dial it up just a little bit for you. I don't want you to come back in a week or 2 weeks and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do it. And now the bonus has changed significantly. Or in 2 weeks, you still have a week and a half to 2 weeks of processing ahead of you. And now you've lost 20% of your money in the market, right? So, so that's all we've got for today, guys. I'm going to go do a quick round robin.